Hey, what's up? So I had kind of a wild thing happen earlier this week. It was Monday evening, finished work, caught up with a friend, grabbed dinner, was walking around. We took a seat in this square area, and around that area there were a few apartments, and some guy, we were sitting there for a while, and some guy eventually comes and starts talking to me. And initially I'm trying to make out what this person's trying to say, and it seems like they're angry. There's some kids that were playing with a ball, they were whacking it around, and I guess it was making a lot of noise around the apartments. And so this guy comes across, it's dark, there's not too many people around, and I guess this guy comes up to me and my friend, and they start kind of going off on us. And I think his initial thought was that we were the parents of these kids. We weren't even the same race, but I guess maybe if it was dark and the guy really didn't know, but the guy came to us and me in particular, and he started talking to me, and he started kind of like he was real aggravated. And I know sometimes, because I also live in apartments, and sometimes there can be a lot of noise and it can be a little bit aggravating. But obviously this guy had the wrong person to talk to. And so I was kind of just listening to him and basically told him that we weren't the parents of these kids, it wasn't us. And the guy kind of put himself into a corner because he started saying that he wanted to fight me. And I said I was not interested in fighting this person. But then he doubled down and he was like, okay, no, now I want to fight you. I'd done nothing wrong here. All I did is pretty much, he was talking, I replied, said I didn't want to fight him. And I really didn't want any trouble, to be honest. So as soon as this guy kind of backed himself into a corner, he kind of took a step back, and his arms were down, but he was posturing to set up for a fight. And there was a brief moment where, because I was sitting down, we were just talking, just having a chill time, and there was a brief moment, because I kind of measured the guy's height, and I could tell that maybe if he wasn't the same height as me, he might have been a little bit shorter. So I was tempted to stand up and just kind of like animalistically like show this guy how big I actually am. Not that I'm a massive guy, but with the idea of kind of hoping that this person just walks off. But I decided, I think in the moment, there was a brief moment where I thought this might escalate things, and I don't want to escalate things. I don't really want to get into a fight. I'm with a friend, so I don't want to get them involved. And fortunately, my friend stood up. She kind of started to veer off a little bit, and I think the guy was a little bit, there are two people now, so he was kind of a little bit taken aback, I guess. I stood up, pretty much kind of had my hands up to say, look, we're not looking for any trouble. I told him, look, we'll walk away. And we walked away, didn't really feel that good afterwards, but it's a very interesting kind of scenario, and I almost wonder if it's part of the male experience if this happens, because I've experienced this a few times in my life. I don't know if that's normal, or if maybe I've just had it more times than most other people. But yeah, I don't think I'm a fan of street fights. I wouldn't want to start one. I certainly wasn't even in the headspace of looking for a fight, or I was pretty chilled out. Like, we'd had dinner, we're just sitting down. I was with this person talking, we're having a fun conversation. And so it wasn't front of mind. And sometimes when you get caught off guard like this, you kind of get flabbergasted, you get taken aback, you don't really know how to take it. I tried to analyze the situation a little bit. It was dark, there weren't too many people around. This guy was obviously super aggravated, and he clearly wasn't thinking properly, because he kind of looked like he was looking for a fight. I could tell that he had one tooth missing at the front, so potentially from a previous fight. So I knew this guy had no issues starting a fight, maybe. But his arms were down, and I could tell that probably he wasn't actually a real fighter. And yeah, it was. I tried to assess the situation. I did start to feel my adrenaline go up a little bit, and my heart started racing a little faster as soon as he said, "No, I want to fight you now," because I knew this guy was locked in at this point. And it's been a long time since I felt that kind of adrenaline. I guess it was from probably a sense of danger. But I think all in all, it was the right move. Certainly it took a hit to the ego, to the pride a little bit. But yeah, I checked with ChatGPT if I did the right thing. I think it did say that was the right play. And if I think about it more, which I have, this guy was looking for a fight. He was aggravated. In his mind, he kind of had a reason. Not like a reason to get into a fight, but a reason to be aggravated. One of the things I probably should have done is kind of acknowledge why he might have been angry. But really, like, he had the wrong people entirely and caught off guard, yada, yada, yada. It was just such an unusual situation that I'd found myself in. Yeah, walked away, wasn't feeling great. As I was walking away, though, you kind of want the person in your peripherals. One of the reasons why you wouldn't want to get into a street fight, even if you could beat the person that was potentially acting as a threat, is you don't know how this might come and find you. You don't want, like, maybe police will come, might get arrested, someone might die, there's no refs, it's not a sport. If you've got other people around, they might get involved. If this person had other people around, they might get involved. I could tell this guy was just by himself. I think he just lived in one of the apartments nearby. But yeah, like, I think it's not worth it. This guy was looking for a fight. There was no reason for me to get into a fight, really. He'd kind of threatened me, if you will. Yeah, you could say he threatened me, but physically, he hadn't done any actions. Like, he hadn't hit me, anything like that. And so, yeah, I was really calm. No, I wasn't calm, but I was, like, pretty composed, I'd like to think. I certainly could have kind of come back at him and argued or raised my voice, threw out curse words, but I did none of that. I wasn't looking for a fight. And yeah, there was no reason to get into a fight that day. Which is a funny story, which is a funny thing, because the idea of what you would fight for is quite an interesting one. Because I feel like most people, unless it's kind of in self-defense, unless it's to do with someone you really care about, like a family member or a relationship or a really close friend, I feel like most people aren't looking to get into a fight. Most people have probably never even been in a fight. Most people probably don't know how to fight. And yet, I just think most people aren't looking for fights. But the idea of what you're willing to fight for is an interesting one, if you really analyze it, for most people. This is kind of just me thinking for myself, because I am kind of passive in some ways. Like, I don't like fighting. Yeah, I don't know about fights. I think, like, the way I think about it is, I'm a young, healthy adult right now. And so if I were in a fight, like, I could probably handle my own. Certainly not against, like, a masked person or a super experienced fighter or anything like that. But, like, if ever I were to get into a fight and do well, it's probably around now. But I think about it like, oh, what if they've got a weapon? What if they've got other people around? What if they're part of a more dangerous group? What if, what if someone gets really injured? Someone, like, worst case scenario, somebody dies. What if, that's pretty much the worst one, right? Like, You don't really want that. And if we can all parties can just look the other way, everyone goes home safely, that's probably for everyone's best interest, in everyone's best interest. But yeah, I mean, some people out there just looking for fights, and I have this funny thought that, well, it's not a funny thought, but I have this thought that people who have less to lose are more likely or can afford to be more reckless, I think, in their heads. And I might be projecting what I would think for them, but yeah, I don't know. It was a interesting experience. Takeaway is try to avoid street fights if you can. Try to de-escalate the situation. If it helps to acknowledge their anger and kind of redirect it in a different way, I think that can be useful. Kind of putting your hands up and letting them know you're not a threat is probably not a bad move. Certainly if they kind of cross a boundary, you do want to be a little bit prepared just in case, because you don't want to take a sucker punch, or you want to avoid taking a sucker punch, or you kind of want to have your guard up. And it really is a bit of an assessment of the situation. Obviously, if this was in broad daylight, there were lots of people around, probably wouldn't have got to that stage, I would think. But yeah, be safe, be smart, make good decisions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.